Hello everyone, this is Food Science. In this video, we are going to talk about sensory evaluation and taste modification to improve dietary intake. Let's talk a little bit about sweeteners because sweeteners are added to food to improve taste, which is a sensory quality. Caloric sweeteners or sugars are the most common. However, they are associated with non-communicable diseases like type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, and obesity. As non-caloric or low-caloric alternatives to these sugars, artificial sweeteners were introduced. However, the safety of artificial sweeteners also remain controversial. Then there's a third type of sweeteners known as protein sweeteners. These are considered as natural and comparatively safe. However, the research on these protein sweeteners are still ongoing. Among these different protein sweeteners, miraculin is special. Let's have a look at how the miraculin is working. Miraculin is not just a protein, but it's a glycoprotein, which means that it has a carbohydrate part made out of sugars and a protein part made out of amino acids. So this glycoprotein miraculin is present in the pulp of this small red colored fruit, which is known as the miracle fruit or the miracle berry. Um, so let's see how this is providing a sweetness. The person has to first consume the miracle fruit, which contains miraculin. Then after a few seconds or few minutes, the person has to consume a sour food. So we expect to sense a sourness from this lime now, but instead we are feeling a sense of sweetness from the lime. This is because miraculin has modified the taste receptors so that this sour food now tastes like sweet. According to the existing research, we also hypothesize that miraculin can provide a sense of sweetness with bitter food as well. So this taste modification effect of miraculin may be helpful to change the food preferences because when miraculin converts sour food into a sweetness, bitter food into a sweetness, that may improve the preference for sour and bitter fruits and vegetables. And then this might improve the food consumption patterns, and this may be helpful to reduce the non-communicable diseases. This interesting property of miraculin in miracle berry made us want to project. So we are doing this as PhD projects, and we have named this project as the Miracle Berry Project. Let me give you a brief overview about the Miracle Berry Project. For this project, we are recruiting Australian citizens who are living in Australia for more than 10 years and at the age range of 18 to 65 years. The first two studies of the Miracle Berry Project are the most relevant for food science students. In study one, which is just one visit to the lab, the participants will be provided with solutions and food items representing individual tastes, and they will be tasting these solutions and food items and rating their taste perception on a particular scale provided, which is known as the GLMS, General Labeled Magnitude Scale. In study two, which is also just one visit to the lab, the participants will be receiving a mixed diet, which is a salad, which is a mixture of all these different tastes. And the participants will be consuming the salad and rating the food liking on the scale provided, which is also known as GLMS, General Labeled Magnitude Scale. In addition to that, we are collecting some other data like sociodemographic data, anthropometry, taste status, and mouth pH. How this Miracle Berry project is relevant to food science, or why am I talking to food science students about the Miracle Berry project? So the Miracle Berry project is about sensory evaluation. We are trying to evaluate the taste of food products in the Miracle Berry project, and you will also be doing the same in your food science assignment. For your food science assignment, you will be developing a novel food product. You will receive the instructions in due course, and you will also have to conduct a sensory evaluation to evaluate different sensory qualities such as the taste, texture, mouthfeel, appearance of your food product. So, having an idea about the Miracle Berry project makes it easier for you to conduct your own sensory evaluation. Secondly, the Miracle Berry project is about taste modification. We are trying to use Miracle Berry to add sweetness or to mask sour and bitter tastes in the food. Although taste modification is not a part of food science assignment, learning about taste modification is very important for food science. Both sensory evaluation and taste modification are aiming to create novel healthy products and to modify the taste to support healthy dietary patterns. So we would like to invite the food science students to join the Miracle Berry project as participants. This is giving benefits for both of us. For the Miracle Berry project, we are receiving uh, data, and for food science students, you will be able to learn about sensory evaluation. You'll be able to know about the required documents. You'll be able to look at the actual documents, and you will see the actual setting, how a sensory evaluation is conducted. And also you will be participating in the sensory evaluation, so you will get an idea about the scales that are used in sensory evaluation and how a participant should use these scales to rate their test perceptions. So all these things will give you experience, and this will make the sensory evaluation for your food science assignment more easier. So this is giving benefits for both parties. Let's have a look at the sensory evaluation in the Miracle Berry project, the required documents and data. In the Miracle Berry project, we have set some prerequisites. There are certain things that the participants should do or should not do before they attend the lab. And then we have the documents like participant information sheet. This information sheet contains information such as the purpose of the study, the procedures the participants should follow, and also we are mentioning about the ingredients of the food, because the participants have to consume the food and the solutions that we are providing. um, Participants should know about the ingredients, and if the participants have allergies or intolerances to any of these ingredients, they should not consume them. And we should provide the contact information of the researchers, and we should mention about the ethical considerations, because Miracle Berry Project is a research. For any human or animal research, there should be ethics. We should have ethics approved from relevant authorities. And also, we are going to inform our participants about how the data is being handled. For example, like we make the data de-identifiable and how we are trying to store it for future use. And because this is a research, we have to take the consent from the participants. So there will be a consent from the participants before participating. They will be signing that. And then we have the questionnaires. In the Miracle Berry project, we will be collecting socio-demographic data like gender, age, income, education level, and we'll be measuring anthropometric data like height, weight, body fat percentage. And also we'll be collecting the PTC test status. These data are specific for the project. PTC test status means we will be providing a small paper strip to our participants, and the participants have to just keep it in the mouth. And for some people, this paper will be very bitter, so those will be tasters. And for some other people, this paper will be neutral, just like paper. Then they will be non-tasters. And then we collect another data, which is TS2R38 gene status. The gene variant of this particular gene is responsible for dividing the people into different groups as super testers, medium testers, or non-testers. However, we won't be collecting this gene status data from all the participants, but only those who like it, only those who like to provide us saliva will provide saliva to determine the TS2R38 gene status, and also we will be measuring the mouth pH. All these factors will be confounders for the main data, which is the sensory data, the perceived taste intensity. So, how this is important for food science students? When you're doing your sensory evaluation, you will also have to set the prerequisites, which you have to set the necessary prerequisites according to your requirements, and you will also have to compile the necessary documents, maybe the information sheets, and you have to inform about the ingredients, the procedures, and how the data is handled. You may not have to worry about the ethical considerations because this is not a research. And you will also have to develop the questionnaires. So you can select the necessary questions that you want to ask your participants. And this you will also be collecting the sensory data. You'll be using the scales. I'll be discussing them in this presentation. So these are the prerequisites that we have set in the Miracle Berry project. We are asking our participants not to eat or drink anything except water, brush teeth, or smoke 1 hour before attending the lab. This is because we want to make sure that the participant's mouth is free from any other tastes coming from any other food or toothpaste, so that the mouth is neutral when they're starting the taste, then there won't be any taste interactions. And smoking also changes the taste sensitivity status. So we ask them not to smoke 1 hour before attending the lab. And also, we are asking them to refrain from heavy exercises like heavy workouts, competitive events, or races 24 hours before attending the lab. So, in your food science assignment sensory evaluation, you will also have to set similar prerequisites that depends on your requirement. This is the procedure that we are asking the participants to follow in the Miracle Berry project. This black colored symbol represents drinking water and rinsing the mouth. So we will ask the participants to first rinse the mouth with water before they do anything, and then they will be given the different solutions. First, the citric acid, which is representing the sour taste, and then they will be provided with the scale. They will mark the sourness on the scale provided, and after that, they will be rinsing their mouth again. Then they'll receive the second solution. Likewise, between each taste quality, they will be rinsing the mouth so that the previous taste stimulus is gone. And because this Miracle Berry project is not only about sensory evaluation, but this is also about the effect of Miracle Berry. So we are providing Miracle Berry, and we'll be asking the participants to keep it in the mouth and dissolve it in with saliva for 5 minutes. And after that, they'll be following the same procedure again. So for the Miracle Berry project, in the questionnaire, we have included the same diagram to give instructions to the participants. As I mentioned earlier, it is important that we provide instructions to our participants. Even in your food science assignment, you have to provide instructions to your participants. So we have thought of using this diagram to provide instructions because the diagram is more easier to understand for the participants rather than lengthy sentences and paragraphs. So you can also think about similar diagrams that you can include in your questionnaires instead of adding longer paragraphs. And this is the procedure for the study 2 of the Miracle Berry project, where the participants will first rinse their mouth and they will take the Miracle Fruit tablet, keep it in the mouth for 5 minutes, and then they will be receiving the salad, and they are rating the food liking on the scale. Let's talk about these scales, and this section on scales is very important because you will also be using a similar scale for your sensory evaluation. So we have different types of scales in use. So what we see on the left-hand side is a 9-point scale, for hedonic 9-point scale, which is about food liking. So we have a scale going from 1 to 9, where 1 says extremely dislike and 9 says extremely like. But on your right-hand side, we see another scale, which is continuous. It does not have specific points, but this is continuous. So according to recent research, the most recommended type of scales to use in these sensory evaluations are these continuous scales. So we are also trying to use a continuous scale in our sensory evaluation for the Miracle Berry project. So the top one on your let's have a look at your left hand side. The top one is for liking, and the bottom one is for sensory, which is the taste qualities. So one is no bitterness, and if it's extreme bitterness, that becomes 9. Similarly, we have a continuous scale on our right hand side, which is also going from no sensation to strongest imaginable sensation of any kind. This is for sensory. So let's have a look at the scale that we are using in the Miracleberry project. So this scale, it is the same scale, but now in a more vertical version, because according to research, this more vertical version is more easier for the participants to understand and for the participants to read. So let's have a look at the left hand side, which is the sensory scale, and this is the scale we are using in the study 1. Where the participants has to rate specific taste qualities. For example, sourness. The participants will be taking a citric acid solution, taste it, and they will be rating the sourness, perceived sourness intensity on this scale. So 0 represents no sensation, and it goes from barely detectable, weak, moderate, strong, very strong, and 100 represents the strongest imaginable sensation of any kind. Understanding this is very important again, because this 100 will be different from individual to individual, because this is the strongest imaginable sensation. So the individual participant has to decide what is their 100. For example, if a particular person has faced a very strong sensation, this is not necessarily a taste, but it can be any sensory any sensation. For example, if a person has faced experienced a bone fracture, for that individual, that might be the worst pain they've ever experienced. So their 100 is set to that level. So if they receive, for example, if we give a lime to a participant, and if this participant for himself sets his 100 as this bone fracture compared to the pain they received in this bone fracture, the sourness of lime might be just maybe 40. Let's, for example, assume it's 40. But for a second individual, when we provide the same lime and ask them to rate in the same scale, they are setting this setting the 100 according to their own previous experience. Suppose this second person has not experienced a bone fracture, and their worst pain is maybe they've fallen from a bike and they have a small scratch. So that was the worst pain they've experienced. So compared to that, this sourness of lime is not 40 now. It might be 80, because their top level is something not very serious. So depending on that, individual has to adjust this scale for themselves. That's why learning about this scale is very important, and you will also be using a very similar scale, the same scale or a similar scale. You can choose between these two scales based on your requirement, but these two scales have the same principle. It's the same thing. So if you are also using one of these scales, understanding this and having previous experience on how to use this scale by participating in the Miracleberry project will be very important for you to collect accurate data when you're doing this for your sensory evaluation. Then if your participants, if your friends have already done the same, use the same scale in the Miracleberry project, you will not have to provide them all these instructions, because they know that they have the experience, and you can just ask them to come to the lab and do this. It saves a lot of time, and it makes the results more accurate when the participants are experienced. So the scale on the right hand side, this is used for food liking. So this the previous scale, which was on your left hand side, it has numbers from 0 to 100 only. But now the scale on our right hand side, it has numbers ranging from -100 to +100. This is because now 0 represents fully neutral. They don't like, they don't dislike, they are neutral. And 100 represents the greatest imaginable like. They like it the most. And Minus 100 represents the greatest imaginable dislike. Because we want to represent like and dislike on the same scale, we are using plus 100 and minus 100, but the idea is the same. So if somebody is using this second scale for your rating, it is the same idea. You have to set your own the participant has to set their own margins, like what they consider as the greatest imaginable like or the greatest imaginable dislike. And now let's talk about the data handling in the Miracleberry project. In the Miracleberry project, we are collecting some identifiable data. For example, we will be collecting the participants' names and the contact information. But in your sensory evaluation for the food science assignment, you may not want to collect this identifiable information. This totally depends on the type of the project. So in the Miracle project, although we collect this identifiable information, we will be converting all these into the identifiable status. For example, only I will have the access to the identifiable data, and I will be coding them. I will be converting them into specific participant ID numbers before I circulate these findings, even with my researcher group. And when we are publishing them, we will be publishing them in different forums, but in a de-identifiable manner. Nobody will be able to identify who was the participant. And for raw data, only the researchers have access to raw data. So using this participant ID numbers is the take-home message from this slide. So when you are doing your sensory evaluation, if you do not want to collect the participants' names and the contact information, depending on the type of your project, then you will not be doing that. So after learning about the Miracleberry project, how can you apply the learnings from the Miracleberry project to the food science assignment, or why it was important for you to go through the Miracleberry project? Both these things, Miracleberry project and the food science assignment, are about sensory evaluation of food, and they are aiming to support healthy eating. So you can make use of what you learned in Miracleberry project when you're setting the prerequisites, as I have explained. You are also doing a sensory evaluation, so you should also make sure that the participants are providing accurate results and there are no any previous taste stimuli remaining in their mouth. So you can set relevant prerequisites. And when you are compiling the documents, you also have to compile the documents like information sheets, questionnaires, in your assignment, and for these things you will be receiving marks. So you can have examples from the Miracleberry project. You will not be able to directly copy paste from the Miracleberry project because these two things are slightly different, but you can have a better idea from a real project, and you can compile better documents to obtain better marks. And also when you are selecting a scale, so I have explained you about two types of scales. One, which we are using in the Miracleberry project to collect data on the taste intensity, the scale ranging from 0 to 100. This is called a general labeled magnitude scale. And on the scale which was on your the other scale, which was ranging from minus 100 to plus 100, which will be used in the Miracleberry project to collect data on the food liking. So you can select the best scale which suits your requirement, but both these scales are known as general labeled magnitude scales, slightly different based on their requirement. And also when you participate in the Miracleberry project first, and when these participants have the experience of using a general labeled magnitude scale, when you're doing the sensory evaluation for your friends, because for your food science assignment as a group, you will be preparing the novel food and you will need some participants to come and rate your food. So for that, you can ask your own peers, own classmates to come and rate it. So when your classmates are having prior experience of using these scales, it saves a lot of time, and also it makes the results more accurate because now these participants are experienced. And also you can have some idea about the data handling practices, like ethical practices, or where we learned that we will not be using the identifiable data if it's not needed. And even if we collect some identifiable data, we have to make it de-identifiable before we go and publish them. So this is the end of this video. Thank you.